Hello, Scrappy friends. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video where we are going to talk about oldies but goodies. So please tell me in the comments that I'm not alone, that I have a lot of older items in my stash, things that I used when I first started scrapbooking, things I've had around for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. And I just love them, but I don't use them anymore because there's so much wonderful new product that it gets pushed to the side over and over again. So I know I'm not alone in that, but let me know, do you have any items like that in your stash? My item of focus today are these wonderful border strips. So back in the day, Creative Memories had all these different kinds of border strips. They used to come on I believe it was a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and we had to punch them all out. So there would be a whole sheet of one color, and then you just have to punch them right out. I, at that time, thought these were the best thing ever. These were probably some of our very first embellishments that we started getting for our scrapbooks. So I know a lot of people had these. In fact, I posted on a video, I showed one to compare to a punch that we have currently, and I got a lot of comments of people saying, I have those, I have those. And so I know that lots of you out there probably have these exact same things. I think they were called Rick Rack or Zig Zags. I think there were maybe two kits. I know I had two different kits, different shades, different tones, and now I just have so many of them left over. In fact, a couple years ago, I made these my focus item for the year. And so my idea with that was that I was going to have these out on my desk all the time and try and incorporate as many as I could during my scrapbook process that year. And I actually did accomplish that. I cut these up in all kinds of different ways and had them poking out from embellishment clusters. I had used them like they're intended to be, as borders, beginning of borders, edges, you name it. But I barely made a dent in my collection. And the idea was at the end of that year, I would toss all of them and donate them. I don't think I could actually throw them out. So I would my idea was to donate them to a thrift shop or a school or something. But when that year came around and ended, I decided I still like them. I still use them. I still wanted to give them another chance. So I decided to keep them. Let me show you how I store them. So just like those are vintage, I have this vintage binder from Creative Memories. And it's a 3-ring binder. It was designed to hold stickers and die cuts and, of course, the 12-inch border strips. A couple years ago, I decided to take this old binder and just use it for my border strips of all kinds. Okay, so not just my zigzags, but my border strips as well. So everything in here is in color order, and I just have them all in here. You'll see I have tons and tons left. I had so many. It's really hard to pull these days because we have so many better options and we get caught up in all the new things that I have to make a point to come back and use them. Okay, so you'll see I have orange, green, pink, purple, and in each color I have more and more of these zigzags and rickracks. So I'm still not ready to purge these because I feel like this is already organized. It's already in my space. It has a spot. I don't need that spot right now. I don't need to clean out this album for anything else that I have. I keep adding in border strips as needed. I come to this binder often to look for border strip ideas. So I don't feel like I want to get rid of any, but I'm not saying in the future I might come to that. I might come to a point where I would want to get rid of this binder altogether on the shelf, and then I would have to take a deep look at what I have and what I'm going to do with it. But for now, I love my binder. It sits out on my shelf, and I'm going to keep it and continue to use it. So let's have a little bit closer look at them and compare them to what we have today. I just have a couple laying here that are more current. I mean, obviously with today's technology, we have a lot more detail to offer. But basically, it's the same thing, right? These are both from border making cartridges, very detailed, very cute, but basically the same concept. What I want to do with these today is I want to make a page layout where I could use up a fair amount of these. I've been eyeballing this page right here, and I tried to look for it on it. It's a Creative Memories page. And I know for sure I saw it in some marketing material, and I tried to find it on the blog, and I did not have any luck trying to finding it on the blog. So this was the only photo that I had of it. But I want to try and recreate this same idea, and you'll see that border with the river wave punch out. I'm just going to replace that section with some of my vintage Creative Memories, rickracks, and zigzags. So come on back to my desk and I'll show you what my plan is. So what I like to do in this series of oldies but goodies is I like to show how we can take a vintage item and pair it with some newer items and create beautiful layouts for our album. So I'm hoping that you agree, and I hope that this works out for me today, so I could use up some of my rickracks and create the beautiful border like we saw in our inspiration. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that inspiration up in the corner so we can kind of take a look at it as I go along. So I'm going to be using some paper from the Vivid Melodies collection. So it's not super current, but it's not definitely not even a year old yet. So I thought that would be great. And then I went and picked out several of like border strips from my stash and colors that I thought would mix really well with the Vivid Melodies lime tart is what I'm using. So I went and found some zigzags that would match with this paper, and look how these fell right here. That there is a super cute border, and it just fell together like that. I'll have to take a photo of that and remember for future. So these are the colors that I decided. I have this sagey green, this blue. Now this blue matches the blue dot in this paper perfectly, but I feel like it's a little bit bold, but I'm going to go with it because it does match and we're going to keep it. This is plum, and I added that because I did have purple in here with my lime tart. Purple is a complementary color to green, so I thought it would be perfect. And then of course brown is a neutral and should go with everything, right? And this will be the 4-inch strip that I will be creating to make the border across my page. So let me put the papers away for a little while. We'll come back to those and we'll work on the border first. So I first started to line them up, and I was just going to alternate them. This is a 4-inch border. These are 12-inch strips. So I thought, oh, okay, I could just cut them and line them up across the strip of white cardstock, just like that. But then I had this sitting on my desk, and when I walked out and then came back in, I decided that I feel like these zigzag strips are a little too thick for, I want something a little more delicate, like in the inspiration. That river wave has several small waves within like a 1-inch diameter. So I wanted to do that as well. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to take my all-purpose scissors and I'm going to cut them right in half. Okay, we fussy cut nowadays, so this should be nothing too extreme. I think it's going to go pretty quickly, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just eyeball it and go right down the center as much as I can. Keep it nice and straight. And I'm going to do all 4 strips. I'm not going to get into these as I don't think I will need those now. Okay, so I'm going to put you on fast forward and get this done. Okay, I got those all cut into the 4-inch sections, and now I'm just going to lay them on to the white cardstock and figure out some kind of order for them. Okay, well there we go. I have a few left over, and I'm going to pull out my gray mat and put this up onto it so that when I adhere them down, I will space everything out very nicely. I'll bring it down here to the inch hash marks so that I could position them perfectly. I'll bring in my repositionable tape because I think that'll be the easiest way to stick them down, and my silicone mat. And I'm going to go ahead and get all this adhered down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got that all adhered down, and my spacing might be a little off. There was no formula that I came up with that was flowing nicely, so I just went for it and kind of eyeballed it. So there's bigger spaces and then smaller spaces, but also when I cut the zigzags apart, then I wasn't exactly perfect on that either, so that made it a little difficult. So, okay, so this is our basic page design. We're going to have a piece of solid colored cardstock for the background. Then I have this piece of green and blue polka dot paper will be a block right underneath, and it is right now trimmed to 11.5. I do want to bring it down and up, so I'm going to cut this one and adjust it and then place this on top. But first thing I want to do is with my background piece here, I want to gut that out so I can use it, some of the green, for matting photos. Okay, so I'm going to give this a 1-inch frame. Okay, so this is 11.5. If this was a full piece of paper, you could lay it right on here. But since I had this scrap, I want to be able to use this. So I'm just going to slice it about 3 to 4 inches. And then I will adhere this one at the top, this one at the bottom, and then this one will go straight across. So you can do a couple things here. You can have it go from edge of the green cardstock to the other edge, or from the edge of the polka dotted paper to the edge over here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to trim this down to 11.5. So let's see, I need about 1/4 of an inch off of each side. So I think that's going to be good right there. Now, by the magic of video, I got that all adhered down, and it's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is bring in my border making system. I want to mimic what they have in the inspiration, and that is a border strip across the top here. And so that's where I'm going to bring in a newer item and use this mirrored scalloped border making cartridge to create a border strip, 2 of them actually, that will come the top and the bottom of that border. Okay, so let's put that up there. Bring in some navy paper. I think navy will help to ground our different colors. So let's give this a try. I'm just going to cut out 2 strips. I'll put you on fast forward while I do that. And if you want more information about how to use the border making system, then I have a video for that too. Just check my basics playlist. I have some basic videos in there. Okay. Okay, so I think navy to me is kind of a neutral color, so I think it's going to help to really ground it. So we have a choice here. We could run it across again the whole way, or just across the 11.5 inches. We can tuck it under if we wanted to, but I do kind of want to cover up right there where my strips meet the edge because it's not super straight. And so I will be cutting this down. And I will do that for the bottom one as well. Oh, there we go. And that's what it will look like. Now let's get some photos and see about photo placement. I'm going to use this layout for a Taekwondo page layout for my son. We had so many photos of different belt levels in his for his Taekwondo challenge, and I have been doing a page spread for each one, so I'm going to keep just a 1-page layout for this. I don't need a 2-page spread of this. This was just him advancing up to a brown stripe belt. So I always look for some generic type of layouts to use for his karate, because it's really hard to find karate specific paper. Plus, like I've said, I've done so many different karate pages. I don't always like to just go really theme heavy on the karate. So I cut some photos down to 3x4, and I'm going to place 3 across the bottom like they did in the inspiration. And then up here in the border, just like in the inspiration, I'm going to add a couple photos. I think doing that, it also is going to kind of tone down my border because it's a little bit loud and a little crazy, but I think I'm going to be able to tone that down with these. And I'm not sure about my placement up here, but I think that's how it's going to go. And then I will bring in some photo mats. I went ahead and cut up the part that I got from behind my base, and so I'm going to go ahead and add it. See, that just really helped that pop right out. So those will all be lined up here. And then up here, let's go ahead and add a little photo mat to each one of these. Help those pop out as well. Okay, so before we start getting into the embellishments, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to click that like button, I really would appreciate it. It helps to spread my content throughout YouTube. So I thank you for doing that. And now on to our embellishments. So like I said, for embellishments, I don't have a lot of theme related items for Taekwondo or karate. So I actually went to my Cricut and I printed off this little silhouette of a person giving a kick. And I just typed in there this little logo I found online, and it says headed for black and not looking back, because at this point he only had a few more belts to go. So that was pretty exciting. And I think I'm going to put that right up there next to the other photo. So that's going to act as my title. Then I think I'm going to bring in a little mat for that to help it pop a little bit. And also, I think what I'm going to do here is take my 2-way corner rounder and give this a little bit of a notch, just to give it a little bit of a decoration. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing to the blue mat so that it matches. And this will go right like that. I think that's cute. Slide that right under. Okay. And then what else I have is when I decided to go through my color binders, which is full of different embellishments and things, and I started looking for things that were blue and green. I did look for purple and brown, but I didn't really find anything. In fact, I've hardly found anything at all. But for up here, I did find this arrow. This came from a die, a metal die, and I just like to add arrows in, kind of pointing to certain things. So I thought that would be cute right there. And then I also found this cute little chipboard heart. It's 2 tones of green, so I thought that's perfect. I'll add that right up there. And then I think that's all I'm going to add up there. Simple and to the point. I have a lot of photos on this page, so I spent a lot of time making this strip right here, so I'm not going to be very heavy with my embellishments. Okay, so then down here, I do want to add just a touch of something, so I think I'll slide all these closer to each other. And in my binders, I found this little piece of blue. This is a Cricut cutout. When I first learning the Cricut and trying to figure out what I could do with it, I was practicing by making these little cutouts, and then I just put them in my binder ready to use. And so if, I know that whenever I need anything, any color, I can look in my binders and find something. And so I think this is going to be perfect. I'm going to tuck it in right in here. Just have a little bit showing out there, about half. Then as I was going through my binder, I also found these little pieces of scrap paper. It looks like a little bit of polka dotted paper that I then gave a little fishtail to. I used to do this a lot. I don't do this anymore with little scraps, but it's going to come in handy today. So I'm going to take these three. It reminded me of a ribbon. So if you were, competing and you won a prize, maybe you would get a trophy ribbon or something. And that's what it reminded me of. So I'm going to actually just see if I can pinch it together and put that right under there. And then I found this green chipboard star. It's very thin chipboard, but I like it. I think it's going to be perfect. Goes with our color scheme. So I'll put that right there. And then I found some dark green little enamel stars, and so I'm going to take off a couple and put that right there, and take the other one and maybe put it up there. And like I said, I'm going to keep it very simple. And that's all I'm going to do. I'll straighten all this out when I go to adhere it. There we go. I took some very old Zig Zag punch outs from years ago, cut them in half, got them onto this page. I think it actually is working very nicely. These Taekwondo photos. Super happy that I got this done. I think it was a very good use of those items. I'm so happy to have those in my album after all these years. Then I added some new items, the lime tart paper, and I used the newer mirrored scalloped border making cartridge to cut out these border strips, and I think that added just so much to my overall strip of paper. And that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. If you're looking for more inspiration, I will have some videos linked right here. But until next time, everybody, take care, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.